Madam Speaker, I rise for a point of personal privilege.
Delegate VanValkenburg, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, members of the House of Delegates, there's been a lot of talk, rightfully, around schools and school openings. We've really had months of uncertainty, of fear. We had a spring that, in a moment of chaos, did not live up to what anybody would want for public education. And parents are afraid, and they're right to. And I want to note from the start that I desperately want to be teaching kids in my classroom. And I don't think that there's a parent, a teacher, a student, a community member that doesn't want that for our kids, because it is a fact that when kids are in classrooms with the professionals, with their peers, with their friends, they're in their best possible learning environment. And this is, of course, most true for students most in need. And so it has been a huge regret, or I think it's been a huge regret, that what we've seen over the last 2 months is, rather than people rallying around our public health crisis to try to solve as best as possible our upticking COVID cases, and rather than see people come together to try to unite around our community and our public schools, we have seen a public discourse from national leadership on down to the state level of divisiveness, of not being thoughtful. And, you know, it strikes me that the first thing we can do to open schools is to bring down COVID cases. We're seeing it right now across the country, Georgia, Indiana, and indeed across the world, that schools are opening and then they're increasingly closing, and they're going back to virtual. And that's because we're not bringing down caseloads. And we have a party who, while saying they want to open schools, out the other side are talking about how mask mandates are bureaucratic, burdensome bureaucratic regulations. If we truly want to get kids in schools, we need to bring COVID cases down, because otherwise we're just fooling ourselves. We'll go into school for a week, dozens of people will get COVID, we'll quarantine half to 3/4 of the school, and rather than have a planned virtual education that's successful, we'll have chaos like we had in the spring. And so I would hope that we would support school systems as they go virtual, not because it's what we want, but because where we are right now in this epidemic is what we need. It's what's doable. It's where kids can best learn. We're already seeing localities who are stepping up and trying to be flexible. You look at Richmond City, Henrico County, where they are trying to open schools for daycare so that people with young kids who need to get their kids in a physical location can. We're seeing localities who are trying to bring special ed students back into the building. So these innovations are already happening. They're already occurring. Let's step up and make sure public schools have the resources they need to do this. And let's step up to solve the public health problem so that we can get kids back in school. And let's not fall for programs or proposed programs that will do nothing but tie public education, tie teachers, tie students' hands behind their back. We need to be rallying behind our communities and behind our public schools, not trying to divert funds, not trying to belittle them in the moment where they need all of our support. If we truly want to get kids back in the classroom, let's step up and make sure schools have the resources and the support they need. Thank you, Madam Speaker.